She knocked on my door with a $1,500 fine in her hand for the way I piled snow. I laughed out loud right there in my kitchen coffee halfway to my mouth because who fines a man for making crooked snow? But she was not laughing. That was the moment everything turned sideways with Pine Ridge Estates Homeowners Association. My name is Owen Patterson. I've lived out here in rural Vermont for 15 years, driving a plow, running a small snow removal business that covers the roads around Stowe. For the last 8 winters, I held the contract to keep the private road up to Pine Ridge Estates clear, 2 miles winding through thick woods, gated homes on a hillside. Not a town road, not the town's problem. I did it for money on a contract, no drama, or so I thought. Brenda Morrison was mid-50s, hair sprayed into a neat halo, a white puffy jacket that probably cost more than my truck payment. She stood on my porch, hands on that embossed envelope like a judge with a warrant. "Mr. Patterson," she said, all sweetness and edge, "I'm here to deliver this notice personally. We believe in open communication with our service providers." That line should have been the clue. Inside was a letter fined for uneven snow distribution, aesthetic concerns, and potential safety hazards listed in tight formal language with dates and times. I read it twice and waited for the punchline. Uneven snow piles. Apparently the north side of the road had higher piles than the south side on several occasions. "We expect uniform snow distribution," she said, like it was the simplest, most reasonable thing in the world. You know that moment when someone says something utterly ridiculous and your brain hunts for the joke? I was waiting for the laugh. There was none. I tried to explain. "You don't push snow the same way every time, wind slope where it won't slide back onto the pavement. What's safest for traffic and for drainage?" But Brenda kept smiling like a scoreboard. "The fine stands. 30 days to pay, or we pursue legal action." She turned, walked back to her Mercedes, and left me on the porch holding a paper that read like parody. That night I called my lawyer, Tom Chen, who handles the kind of small-town business legal work you don't want to do yourself. Tom read the fine, chuckled until I could hear him wipe his eyes. "They can't be serious," he said. "Send me your contract." I emailed it over. It said what I thought: clear the road. Keep it passable sand when necessary. Nothing about aesthetics. Nothing about symmetry. Tom got real quiet for a second, then he said, "They have no legal basis. Send them a letter. If they sue, they'll lose." So I sent a professional firm letter, refusing to pay, citing the contract. 3 days later, they terminated my contract. Official letter, immediate effect. They claimed I'd shown an unwillingness to meet community standards. That was the pivot point. I realized something important: the private road actually crossed my property. When the development was built years ago, the developer took an easement. The homeowners got a right to use the road that crossed my land. That easement guaranteed access, not maintenance. I had been doing the work because they hired me. I called Tom back. His grin through the phone made my chest lighten. "The easement doesn't assign maintenance to you," he said. "Usually the easement holders share maintenance, or the benefiting party pays. You were providing a paid service. When they fired you, they took on the problem of getting it plowed themselves. In plain English, if they wanted that road cleared, they had to pay someone else." 3 days later, a nor'easter dumped 18 inches and my phone went off like an air raid siren. I ignored the first few calls, unknown numbers, but on the 4th I picked up. Gerald from Pine Ridge, voice tight. "Mr. Patterson, the road's not plowed. We can't get out." I told him the HOA terminated the contract. Silence, then panic. "When who will plow?" "We have appointments, we have work." I told him to talk to Brenda. By noon, Brenda herself showed up, half her Mercedes stuck on my driveway boots, useless in deep snow face like winter. She stormed up, not smiling this time. "You will plow the road immediately," she barked. I said calmly, "You fired me. The easement gives you access. It doesn't force me to work for free. You hired me. You let me go. Find someone else." Her face went beet red. "You're trapping us," she shouted. "You're responsible." I shrugged. "You're responsible for hiring someone. That's the point of contracts." She threatened suit. I told Tom. He said let her sue. He'd love the chance. Brenda's temper did not calm. The community was rattled. Pine Ridge had 37 homes, mostly professionals used to things running smoothly, and suddenly they were stuck. Word spread that Brenda had pursued me over a nitpicky complaint. Not everyone was happy. Then a twist shows up like a plot device that actually exists in real life. Patricia Holmes, a homeowner and a practicing lawyer who lived near the gate, came up my driveway 4 days after the storm. Unlike Brenda, she had boots and a plan. "Mr. Patterson," she said, shaking snow from her coat, "I want to apologize. We had no idea she went this far." She sipped coffee at my kitchen table and explained they intended to call a vote to remove Brenda, but first they needed to fix the road issue. Patricia was pragmatic. She said, "Rescind the fine, issue a formal apology, give Owen a new contract with clear terms, no vague aesthetic clauses, and pay up front for the rest of the season, plus a penalty for this emergency." It was blunt and perfect. The HOA voted 4-1 for the plan. Brenda was the lone no, and she was suspended from decision-making. Next morning, Patricia arrived with a new contract, a check for the full season plus penalty, and an unsigned apology letter. Brenda had refused to sign. I signed. I cleared the road by noon. People streamed out, grateful, embarrassed, and a few sheepish enough to tip me on the spot. I thought that would be the end. I was wrong. 2 weeks later, Brenda filed a personal lawsuit against me, intentional infliction of emotional distress and unlawful interference with property access. I laughed until Tom said, "Don't laugh. Court date's in March." We showed up in Lamo County Superior Court, and Brenda came prepared with photographs and dramatic testimony about trapped homeowners, missed appointments, the whole sob story. The judge, Harold Kemper, tired but sharp, listened and then asked the core question, "Where is your legal authority that requires a private landowner to clear an easement at their own expense?" Brenda had no statute, no precedent, just indignation. Tom methodically presented the timeline. She fined me, then she fired me, then she expected me to work for free. The judge called the suit frivolous, dismissed it with prejudice, and ordered Brenda to pay my legal fees. It was one of those moments where you feel your chest unclench and the air tastes like victory. But that victory came with a sequel. After being voted off the board and slapped by the court, Brenda didn't go quietly. Over the spring, the community had vandalism nails scattered on the road, the entrance sign spray-painted, the gate lock cut. Patricia installed cameras. One night, the footage showed Brenda tossing a bag of construction nails across the road, then slashing Patricia's tires. The state police arrested her. She was charged with criminal mischief, vandalism, and destruction of property. In court, she hired an attorney who tried to blame stress. The prosecutor showed the tape and the pattern. Brenda was convicted, sentenced to probation, required to do community service counseling, and to pay restitution, thousands of dollars. She and her husband quietly put their house on the market and left town. After that, the HOA reformed. Patricia became president. They renewed my contract this time explicitly. Keep the road safe and passable, no aesthetic micromanagement. They asked if I'd expand to year-round maintenance, grading, pothole repairs, drainage. I said yes on one condition: professional discretion in how the work is performed as long as it meets safety and functionality. They signed. I hired 2 employees, bought a new truck, upgraded my plow. Business grew. The Pine Ridge mess, oddly enough, turned into opportunity. There were quieter, good moments in the fallout. A 4th of July barbecue where Gerald pulled me aside and said, "We owe you an apology. We were misled." Patricia sent me a text after the first winter pass under the new contract: "Road looks great, thanks." That was all the praise I needed. If there is a moral here, not a sermon, just something I learned, it's this: know your rights and don't be bullied into doing work that isn't required. If I'd paid that ridiculous fine and kept working, what would have stopped the next absurd demand? You reach a point where small compromises turn into a pattern of being walked on. Standing up cost me stress, a court date, and a month of chaos. But it also forced the community to confront its leadership, and it led to a better contract and a healthier business. The satisfying end came quietly. The road remained safe. My snow piles stayed gloriously uneven, piled where physics and terrain demanded, and Pine Ridge learned to treat people who do the work with respect. Brenda's downfall felt oddly thorough: professional humiliation, legal defeat, criminal conviction, and finally departure. That was karma served cold New England style. So what would you do? Take the hit to keep peace, or stand your ground and risk the chaos that might lead to justice? Have you ever had a client or a boss try to micromanage something they clearly didn't understand? Tell me how you handled it. Sometimes the right move is the risky one, and sometimes if you hang on and let the law and common sense catch up, the little guy actually wins. I still drive that road. On a raw winter night after a long storm, I sit in my truck for a beat headlights cutting a path through the dark. The snowbanks on either side are different heights, ridiculous if you care about symmetry, perfect if you care about getting people where they need to go. I push the snow where it needs to go, take one last look down the cleared lane and smile. It's not about the piles. It never was. It's about respect, about doing your job well, and about refusing to be treated like you're replaceable when you're not.